No? Okay, fair enough. Okay, so if we could do this, if you could turn to the first page where it says, you'll see just a couple of quick yes or no questions. What I want to do is you can write it in later or just as we speak, but since it's a small group, I'd love to just get you just to talk with me and each other is who here by a show of hands or just a thumbs up, who here likes to be understood? Just generally speaking, who likes to be understood? Okay, I'm seeing most hands. Good. Okay, and who likes to, go ahead and put your hands down. Who, another show of hands, who likes to understand others? Okay, most everyone. Good. So go ahead and put yes down to both, right? Pretty basic. Most people answer yes to both. But what most people don't really think about is, well, what does it take to be understood? What does it take to understand others? So, Rishi, what's just a gut reaction? Again, remember, let me repeat this. There is no wrong answer, and that's the beauty about today. Anytime I ask all of you questions, and you are all going to speak, you're all going to voice your opinions. There's no right or wrong. So just remember that, okay? So Rishi, what do you think it takes to be understood? You said you like to be understood. What do you think it takes?
I think you just need to speak clearly and just kind of deliver what you're saying well so that the other person, or just put it in terms that the other person can understand it. Like you're talking to a
Absolutely.
2-year-old or a 3-year-old, just put it in a way that they can understand.
Yeah, you know what? I love that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing you saying is kind of know your audience, right? Know who it is you're speaking to. Oh, Sam, I like that room so much better wherever you just went. Uh-oh, did I lose Sam? She's frozen. Rishi, I like that because you have to know who it is you're speaking to. If you're speaking, let's say you're a camp counselor and you're working with second graders, yeah, you talk to them in their own way. Um, what else? Anyone else? What do you think it takes to be understood? Bihan, what do you think?
Be concise.
Love that. Tell me why. Why do you think that's important to be concise? I love that one. I like them all so
Because
far, by the way.
if you speak like a lot, then it's harder to like pick out the important information.
All right. Are you cheating? Are you like seeing my notes ahead of me? Is that what you're doing? Did you like steal my workbook? My workbook? My leader workbook? Is that what you're doing? Are you stealing my notes?
I mean, I don't think you have it in your notes.
Ah, good. Because you're right though. Did everyone hear what he just said? That's a really big, because look, the 3 C's that I want to get into: being clear, concise, which is what he just mentioned, and confident. And we're going to get into that in a moment. So great that you brought that up. Sam, anything jump out in terms of what do you think it takes to be understood?
Well, I've always been told you should like phrase it clearly, like what you just said, and make it short. And
Yeah.
don't like think about it when you're saying, what could you understand? If someone was telling you the same thing, could you understand it?
Right.
You want to, yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Vincent, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I agree with Viran and Rishi, just being clear, concise yet precise at the same time. Just try to not use too many words, but still have your words have some sort of meaning to them, and just
Yep.
articulate it well.
Yep, absolutely. Since there's two of you that have brought that up, just being concise, because there's a lot of people, and just show of hands, who here has been in a conversation, could be at school, could have been something after school, where someone was talking with you, and then it just turned in that they're talking at you, and it was just a flood of words, and it's just ongoing, never-ending conversation, and you're thinking to yourself, when is this going to end? Is there a period anywhere in our future? Anyone just have something like that happen recently? Yeah, and I have too. And guess what? To both of your points, I think for me, and I'm going to ask you your opinions next, so be ready. I think for me, when someone does that, and it happens a lot in the real world, meaning the business world, sometimes people like to talk and then becomes too much. But the reason it becomes too much is whatever point they were trying to make is now lost. It's absolutely lost. And it's important to be concise where we're dealing with attention spans, which are low, both in adults and students. And so it's really important to be concise. And I always say, here's the quick tip for that is I always say this: whatever conversation you're going into, whether it's with a teacher, a head coach, a college admissions officer, or if you're getting an interview for a job, think about it this way: what's the one thing you want that person to know at the end of the conversation? Or maybe what are the 2 key things you want this person to know? And it will keep you on track to be concise. So yeah, a lot of things get lost. Great. Can I start with you, Vincent? Since we kind of ended with you, let me just start with you. What do you think it takes to be understood? We finished, or we kind of talked about what does it take to to be understood. What do you think it takes to understand others? Vincent, what do you think about that?
I'd say to understand others, you actually have to put effort in to really hear what they have to say and listen. And I get to synthesize the information that they tell you rather than just kind of just having words go in one ear and go out the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take that one step further. What do you think it takes though to do that? I happen to agree with you. Absolutely. Or let me ask you this. Do you oftentimes get distracted? Your phone's chirping. You feel like there's an email that's come through, or a text come through, or something's happening. Do you ever get distracted? It's honest because it happens to everyone. Does that ever happen to you? And does that distract you from listening to someone's topics or what they're talking about?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. Sam, anything that you want to add, either the same or something different about what it takes to understand others?
Well, if someone's telling you something, like in order to understand them, you should be able to like repeat back to them what they just said and like talk with them about it to make sure you're understanding it.
Yeah, absolutely. Rishi, anything come to mind?
I might not. I was not listening. Sorry.
You know what though?
I was a bit distracted.
You get bonus points for being honest. That's okay. You're not my son, but I'll say, look, around here, if you're honest, you're not going to get in trouble. It's when you lie. So I appreciate it. If you have a phone or other tabs, do yourself a favor, not me. Just close it if that's what is that distracting you.
Yeah.
So Sam, there was something you mentioned. Would you mind repeating it? Because I think it's good for everyone to just hear. The last thing I just asked you in terms of, do you remember what you said at all?
Like to be able to explain back to the person what they told you.
Exactly. Here's where I wanted to, I liked what everyone's saying is absolutely right on point. But Sam, something I want to just pick up and just kind of make one extra point there before we move on is whether you all feel like you've got the right to ask a question such as, hey, I'm not getting it. Rishi just did it. He was honest. And I think that's awesome. Hey, look, he said, you know what? I wasn't listening. Can you repeat it again? Absolutely. I'd be happy to. When you're in a conversation with someone, whether it's your friends, teachers at home, it's okay to ask for clarity. Hey, I'm not getting it. Or can you just explain it to me in a different way? I might get it that way. Instead of just sloughing it off like you do get it when you really don't. Because it could be something that might be instrumental to help you with an exam, or it might be helpful in building a relationship, personal or other. So it's okay to ask questions, Sam, is I guess what I wanted to pick up on your point is, if you're not getting something, and I would all expect you to do that to me today, just say, hey, Matt, can you explain that in a different way? Because it's not making sense quite yet. I fully expect you guys to ask that, just so you know. Okay. So anyway, that's, I wanted to, if you guys want to write some things down in your workbook now while it's fresh in your head, great. If not, please do take some notes, because the workbook is for you to refer back to. And you may have heard this somewhere in your past. If not, I'll be the first to tell you. But when you write down action items, things that you want to explore and take action on, when you write them down, the percentages increase that you'll do something about it. So just so you know, that's why I have you guys write some things down. I wanted to kind of just on this topic while we're here, who wants to take a stab at just saying, what are the two parts of a conversation, two parts of any conversation? Vincent, what do you think? What are the two parts of any conversation?
I guess one is what you're saying and one is how you're conveying it.
Yeah, good. Bihan, anything? What do you think?
I just thought like listening and talking.
Absolutely. So everyone, oftentimes people think that, well, in order to communicate clearly, you've got to speak your piece clearly, concisely, and confidently, which is true. You do. But being a good communicator isn't always just about talking. There's an extra part of having a conversation, and that's listening. Okay. So without asking you, I could ask you another follow-up question, but I'll move it along a little bit. Is out of those two components, Sam, I'll just ask you if you don't mind, what do you think is the one piece of those two parts of a conversation that you can control? You have control over one aspect of it. What do you think that one is?
What you say?
Absolutely. You control what you speak. You control, you're responsible for the words that come out of your mouth, right? So all of us here in this call, when we have conversations, whatever the next conversation is right after this is over, you can control what you say. In life, there's some lessons. Sometimes they're hard lessons, but it happens, is you can't control how someone receives your message, right? Sometimes someone just doesn't get it, or there's a misunderstanding. So where I want to go with that little comment is this. We all agreed that you all have phones and smart devices, and I'm going to assume that you all have the latest and greatest apps. I don't even know what they are anymore, but like the Snapchats, the Instagrams, where you can direct message people, and I'm sure there's others that are out there. Show of hands or just thumbs, whatever you want to do, just within the last, let's just say 3 to 4 days. Has anyone had any, whether you want to call it drama or issue, come up where someone just said, it just kind of blew up in your face, where someone said, well, why did you send that? Or I didn't get it. And it kind of just backfired a little bit. Not that you intended it that way, but it just kind of blew up in your face. Anyone ever have anything or seen anything happen like that in the last 5 days?
Maybe not within the last 5 days, but definitely that's happened before.
Okay. And I'm not going to ask you to say, well, who was it with? And tell me what happened, because that's your personal life. But if you're willing to share, great. But that does happen. And Rishi, I'm not sure if that's happened to you or anyone else. Vincent, Bihan, if it's happened. Tanvi, did I lose you? Oh, there you are. You're still there. Sorry, you were off to the screen. Has that happened to you at all recently within the last week or so, or maybe it's happened to some of your friends?
Not really, no.
Okay, but it does happen a lot, as you can imagine. And anyone want to take a stab as to why that happens?
Well, on like over text or through a phone, you can't see someone's emotions or understand, like when you talk, you have emotions, they can see your face. So when you're just texting words, they can interpret it wrong, and then it can lead down a path that's just not good.
Yeah. Anyone love drama in their life? Who likes going down, as Sam just said, who likes going down that path? Rishi, you look like you're a troublemaker. You just like having drama all day, don't you? I can see your smile now, right?
No, not really, no. But
yeah, I'm joking with you clearly, but no one likes to. Oh, did you want to add something? Go ahead.
No, nothing.
Yeah, I don't like drama either. You know what? And I just want to just say this. I'm not here to say don't use your phone, because that'd be ridiculous, right? We all know that you're probably somewhere from using your phone as we speak. If not, you're going to use it shortly after. Hopefully not using it now. But there comes a point in time where communicating over social media works really, really well. But there's also a time where it just doesn't. Did anyone realize I just changed my voice? My tone changed from a serious to a quieter, from a serious to a laughter. We can all gauge that when you hear me, right? There is just no way humanly possible to decipher spirit, intent, and tone, as Sam said, over a text, over an email, or a direct message on any app. You just can't tell. So even if you were joking and it can blow up and go down a different path, well, that's not what you meant, but that's how they took it, right? So to alleviate that, I always guide students. I say, look, there's a good time and a place to use social media. Here's how I use it. Now, look, I know I'm not a student, so take it with a grain of salt, but let's just say I'm saying, look, so are we still on to meet at 9:30 at Starbucks? Great, see you there. That's like a quick two-way exchange. It was factual, it was quick and to the point. That's a great use of text or social media. Now, I know that you're not going to use it that way, but my point is, sometimes it's best just to pick up the phone. It just does. It will alleviate misunderstandings, and it will alleviate any headaches. And I think I've heard you say, no one likes to be misunderstood, because you all raised your hand, and no one likes to have their time wasted or going down a lot of drama. So just a quick tip. The other tip, if you're willing to try this is a little challenge I always like to do, is to do this. And you want to write it down. And if you're willing to take it upon yourself, I challenge you. Is anyone have any direct messages just in the last day or two that just go on and on, like beyond 5 or 6 back and forths? Does that happen? Is that pretty normal or no? Okay, I'm getting some nods. Here's my challenge. Up to you guys. I'm not going to force you. My personal rule is if things go back and forth more than 3 times, I'm picking up the darn phone. I just am, because I can have a much more efficient conversation with someone. I hear their voice. I get where they're coming from. Boom. Even if I disagree with that person, which happens, that's okay. You can agree to disagree. At least you're on the same page. There's no misunderstanding. It's pretty clear. So I challenge you, the next time a text string or a DM string goes beyond 3, pick up the phone. You probably freak out your friends a little bit, like, what are you calling me for? If you're willing to take it, show of hands, who's willing to try it? It's okay, just be honest with yourself. You're all awesome. Write it down on your action item. On that page, it says, write it down. Challenge yourself to the next time, which could be literally minutes after this workshop is over. You'll probably text someone. If it goes beyond 3, pick up the damn phone. No, the darn phone, and use it as a phone. It's fun. It's another way to stay more connected to our friends too. Okay, that's just another piece. So I think I kind of hammered that point home. What I want to do is just have you guys turn the page, and I want to just I want to get into some of the meat here. Okay, but before I do, yes, I'm a sports guy. I know that. So I'm going to use the term. I'm going to take a quick timeout because I think it's important. Quick timeout. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments? Maybe they're not understanding something. It's a really small group, which is really cool. So we can just kind of voice some things. If there's anything that is just you're not understanding it, by all means, I want to take a pause and ask. I'll take silence as a no. That works for me. Okay, so on the next page, you'll see where it says, please write down the top 3 ways you most commonly communicate. You guys all with me? Rishi, you with me? Okay, so I'm going to read it. You guys can read. I'm aware of that, but I'm just going to read it to you. And I'm going to read it to you in 2 different ways. And then I'm going to have you take your pen or pencil or crayon, whatever you're using. Please tell me you're not using crayons today. Thank you, Sam, for saying no. All right. Write down the top 3 ways. Sorry, it's Sunday afternoon. Write down the top 3 ways that you most commonly communicate. Now, as you're just kind of thinking that over, let me rephrase it in a different way, because sometimes when you repeat something differently, it might make more sense. Here's what I mean by that. Every day, day in and day out, you probably communicate with your friends, your family, your teachers, your coaches, your tutors, your music instructor, whoever else is part of your life. You probably have some ways that you most commonly communicate with them, day in and day out. Go ahead and write those down. And since we are doing this over Zoom, when I see eyeballs, I know that you guys are ready to move forward, okay? That's my trigger. So when I see your eyes, I'll know that we're okay I can move on to the next one. Great. Rishi, it looks like you're still writing. Take your time. I'm gonna just move to the next one slowly. So the first thing is you've written down the top 3 ways you most commonly communicate, okay? Day in and day out. The next one, pretty self-explanatory. Write down one way that you'd like to change the way you most commonly communicate day in and day out. Just go ahead and write down one way. If you have 2, great, but just write down one way that you'd like to change the way that you most commonly communicate every day. Okay, Vincent, I see your eyes. Rishi's. Okay, great. If you're still writing, it's okay. Next thing, as you can see, is I want you to write down, what do you think the impact would be? So let me just kind of repeat that. What do you think would happen if you made that change? If you made the adjustment that you just wrote down for yourself, what do you think would come from that? What do you think the impact would be if you actually made the change? Go ahead and write that down. Just a sentence. What do you think the impact would be if you made the change that you just wrote down for yourself? And the last thing, if you're still writing, it's okay. Go ahead and complete your sentence, finish that up. The last thing that I want you to write down for yourself is what's in your way? What is stopping you? What's holding you back from actually making the change? Be honest with yourself, because this is for you guys. You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for you. So answer from your heart, your gut. Okay. Don't do it because you think it's the right thing to say. What do you think is holding you back from making the change? Okay, I see most eyeballs. I'm not going to have all of you answer every single question, but just want to get a quick feel for what you guys have written down. Okay, now I just want to say this. I mentioned earlier, everything we share here, there's no right or wrong. When it comes to this part, my expectation is when I listen to you guys, I don't repeat it anywhere. It stays here. That's my professional commitment to you guys. I would expect that if someone shares something here, that it stays here. Can we all just give a nod? And I'm not having you sign anything, but I expect that out of you guys. Okay. So, Tanvi, would you mind sharing the first thing? Just what's the top 3 ways you have written down for yourself? The top 3 ways you communicate.
Text,
Okay.
talking, and phone calls.
Okay, great. Sam, what do you have for yourself?
Well, outside of like talking with someone in person, I
Mhm.
have text / Snapchat, FaceTime, and email.
Okay, Rishi?
I have text, talking, and email.
Okay, Vincent, what do you have?
I have Snapchat, texting, FaceTime, and just talking.
Okay, I'm a guy, and we're not the brightest people out there. I'm just kidding. No, guys are smart. I picked up, here's what I took away from that, and you guys all heard the same thing I just did, is there's some form of, whatever your form is, your first one that you all listed was something over a device, right? Which is fair. That's, look, it's a generation. I get it. I'm not judging, but that's what I heard. So I think that's understandable because that's pretty common. That's what I get, even in groups of 50 when I do it in larger groups. It's pretty common. Sam, would you mind just jumping us off on the next one? What's one way you want to change, just for you personally? What's one way you want to change?
Like call people more.
Okay, Vincent, what do you have for yourself?
Yeah, mine's the same thing. Like over FaceTime, a lot of times I just kind of have my phone laying down and just point at the ceiling. So I guess like actually using it for what it's for and just, like
Mhm.
talking to people.
Absolutely. Bihan, what do you think? What do you have for yourself?
When speaking, to not like jump between words, because then you like lose the main focus of what you're talking about.
Not to jump between words?
Yeah, that's not phrased correctly, but
No, it's okay. I want to just tell me more because I'm curious. I want to make sure I got you.
so like it's almost like speaking too fast because then the other person cannot understand what you already said.
Okay. Rishi, anything? What do you have for yourself?
I also said I want to call people more because texting it is pretty hard to understand someone if they like say something confusing. But if I just call them instead,
Okay.
then it'll just be much easier to understand them.
Okay. So you get it gets confusing when you rely on texting, right? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm not putting words in your mouth. Does everyone agree? Is that why that you put down what you put down for yourself? Vincent, I heard you in terms of using FaceTime and it's pointing to the ceiling and it's not really using it the way it should be used. I get it. Sam, do you agree with Rishi's or anything else in terms of maybe your own comment of why you would want to do that?
No, I agree that sometimes like text can just get confusing.
Okay. And while I have you, let's just, Samuel, just start us on the third question is, what do you think the impact would be if you made the change that you wrote down? Because I think you said the one way you'd like to change is what again?
Call more.
Call
instead.
more. Great. What do you think the impact would be if you actually called more people? That's the third element. What do you think the impact would be if you called people more?
It would be more efficient and it would eliminate confusion.
Absolutely. Okay. Rishi, what do you have for yourself in terms of what do you think the impact would be if you texted less, I think was yours.
I basically just said what she said.
Okay, that's fair. Vincent, what do you have for yourself in terms of what do you think the impact would be?
Yeah, I said it just have more of a connection with the other person on that.
Got it. Yeah. And all of those are spot on, right? Having a connection with people is paramount, right? I'm going to stop the flow just for a minute before I get to the last question, because it's a great point. Making a connection is so pivotal in life, right? Quick show of hands. Who wants to have a job someday? Great. I see most hands. What do you think it's going to take to get a job? Just Rishi, what do you think it takes to get a job, to get hired? What do you think it takes?
A lot of working hard, and
Yeah.
people always say that you need to have a good first impression on the interview.
Yeah, great. Let's run that out. What do you think it takes to make a good first impression?
Just speaking well, not really stuttering, or
Yeah,
not
that's
doing
part
what
of
I'm
it.
doing.
Yeah, that's part of it. But that's all part of making a connection, right? Is the speaking clear and confident, that leads to a really good first impression. Absolutely. But making a connection is kind of also, that's the second step. Then when that person realizes, you know what, boy, that Rishi, he stood out in the crowd of, I interviewed 20 people, and that young man stood out because he was poised, he was clear, he spoke confidently. That made an impression, and that made a connection. And life's all about making connections. Whether, I'm not a relationship expert, so I'm not going down on a personal level, but let's just use that as an example. You want to make a connection with someone on a personal level. If it's a relationship, when I say relationship, that's social, right? It's your social, girlfriends, boyfriends, etc. But it's also relationships as it relates to making business relationships. You make a connection with someone, but you back up, and how do you make those connections? And it's how you communicate with them. Okay. Do you guys see where I'm going with that? There's a pattern, and I get so fired up because if you learn these habits now, you'll be ahead of the game. It's not cheating. It's not cutting a corner. It's just developing a skill now that I guarantee you is going to be needed later. So sorry, I get a little preachy on that, but I feel very, very strongly, which is why I do this for a living. Okay. Thank you all for sharing that. Tanvi, can I have you? I'm a gut check. I'm saying your name correct. I feel like I'm not. Okay, I am. Can't tell you how many 49er players and other teams players that I mispronounce, and it's a hang up I have. I don't get anxious, but I do like to make sure I'm saying it right. Can you tell me the last part for you personally? What's holding you back? Or let's actually back up. What's on your list in terms of what you'd like to change?
Sometimes I lose the point of what I'm trying to say and I get distracted and start off another story.
Okay. And then, so that's what you want to change, right? Okay. What do you think the impact would be then? And then the fourth is, or the last part is, what's holding you back? If you wouldn't mind just stepping me through your specific scenario, just go through those last two questions.
So I think the impact would be that people would understand what I'm saying better. Since there's only one point. And in terms of what's holding me back, I think it's myself. I get distracted a lot, so I have to change that.
Okay. So again, without going into your specifics into detail, but it might be helpful because this is why we're here. The collaboration with all of us, we're all sharing what's happening in our communication lives, if you will, not in our whole life. What is it that's causing the distraction? Is it your phone's chirping at you, your phone's vibrating, or it's just the stimulus around you? What do you think the distraction is in your case?
Just everything around me.
Okay. Then that's a bigger, bite probably for you. And I get it. That's real. I've got a son that's in the same boat, easily distracted. It happens, and that's quite normal. But I like your idea of being aware of it. That's the first step, is being aware of what you think would help you improve. So are you comfortable in what do you think you can do in terms of an action item you can write down on the page that you think would help you? Do you think it's part of, hey, just make my topics of conversation one topic only? Do you think that would help, opposed to having all the things that are in your head and trying to get them all out? just pick one at a time. Would that be a help?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Got it. Vincent, did I already ask you what's holding you back?
Not yet.
Great. You're up.
I said something that's holding me back from using it is, I guess, just laziness, and also just like, I want to say like self-consciousness, because sometimes when I just feel like I'm just not looking good at all, I just don't really have the confidence to put my phone up and actually show my face, especially if the other person isn't.
Okay.
So yeah,
fair.
I guess just laziness
Okay.
and just like
And-
fear of it being awkward and stuff.
Okay. Well, number one, you don't need me to say this because I'm not your parent, I'm not your teacher, but I appreciate your being honest. I do appreciate that. It's a great trait that you just displayed there. And you're all, Rishi was honest earlier. I love that. It's good. It's a good thing. I understand it, especially at your age, where there are a lot, just whatever you want to call it, where people will judge you or make comments about the way we all look. It happened to me, it still happens to me for all that care. So those are all real things. Is there anyone have any slight, I don't want to say it's a fear because that's maybe not the best word, but apprehension perhaps of, do you think your friends might not like that you want to FaceTime them a little more often now or call them a little more often? Is anyone sensing an apprehension around how their friends might perceive that? Or is that not an issue for you guys?
Well, I wrote down for what's holding me back is my friends just don't, most kids my age just don't answer the phone. Like they'd way rather text. So it's you call and they respond text. They don't, it's hard to get someone to pick up the phone, especially.
Right. And they're not all on this workshop. I get it. Right. And maybe they're not seeing the full picture of why it's important to start. I'm not asking you guys to become experts at this because no one becomes an expert at it overnight, but it's the start now. With all due respect to Rishi, I know he's in eighth, but you're all the rest of you are in high school. You start these habits now. They may not get because they didn't go through Talk Shop necessarily, but maybe they will, to understand what's important if you start these habits now. Okay. These are all about putting good habits in place now that will separate you down the road. Okay. Separate you, meaning you're the one that's going to, get the attention of the professor. You're going to be the one that's going to get the attention in the positive way of the hiring manager. And if they just are only going to rely on text, I'm sorry to say, you can't interview that way. You have to interview in person. Okay. So is there anyone that I didn't capture? I want to make sure everyone, if they wanted to voice something on, what's at stake here in terms of, so have you all written down, or will you all write down one thing that you're willing to commit? And if you've already written it down, will you write that down for yourself right now? Just an action item in terms of what's holding you back, but whatever it is you wrote down for yourself on this page, you can make a note of it somewhere on the page, action item. Are you willing to make an effort to put into play what it is that you wrote down for yourself? Okay, these are all healthy challenges. I don't think I'm asking you anything that's, making you try broccoli for 5 straight days at dinner. I mean, it's not anything, sorry, bad example. You get the point, right? Are you all willing to commit to at least writing something down? If you write it down, you'll be more likely to take action on it. Okay. Perfect. Does anyone have any questions? Again, I think this is a good time, just as we kind of want to go through the last little piece here that we want to go through today. But before I do that, it's a good chance for me to, again, take another pause, see if maybe there's any questions, maybe there's some thoughts, maybe there's some pushback, which is great. If there's pushback on it, let's do it. Anyone have anything they want to make a comment or make a mention of? And if it's something about their particular scenario, that's okay. It's a really small group, so I think we can do that. Vincent, I don't feel like maybe I answered anything, and I don't know if I have a clear-cut answer that's going to get you over the hurdle. So I'm not here to troubleshoot you specifically, but I feel like maybe I didn't answer something. And I know you said, look, I might be a little shy about, my appearance on any given day. If, I'm showing my face, why aren't they showing theirs? I think that's just going to come in due time when your confidence in life in general will increase. And confidence comes in different forms, right? Could be, it sounds like I think you said earlier you're on a basketball team or a football team. Did I hear that?
Yeah, I'm on the football team.
Yeah. So confidence comes from being part of a group, whether it's a drama group or a sports team. You get some confidence being around your friends. Get confidence of getting, your first internship or volunteer job. Confidence comes from a lot of different ways. And I know it's probably hard to kind of put yourself out there or be the first to put yourself out there to be on screen. But you know what? It's pretty empowering if you're willing to commit to it and try it. I'm not saying you have to do it every day. Make an effort. Maybe you want to put in your action item 2 days a week. Start somewhere. It's okay. Start with 2 days a week. Put myself on screen. Put myself on FaceTime. Start slow and then build from that. I don't know if you feel that's realistic.
Yeah, that's realistic.
Okay.
All right.
Got it. I didn't want to feel like I kind of left you out there by not answering your question. So that gets into, a big piece of that. So I want to ask you just another question. Show of hands or put thumbs in front of your faces. Have any of you just within the last week or 2 weeks woken up in the morning, you're ready to get your day started and you're just so jazzed, you're so excited, you're so fired up, you can't wait to have a really hard conversation with somebody? Anyone? I see no hands in the air. Rishi, you're the guy I thought for sure that you'd like to have a hard conversation with someone. No? Who's raising their hand? Vihan, tell me what it is about having a hard conversation that you like.
You got to understand other people's point of view too.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun communicating, I thought too. Like in our English class
Mhm.
and history classes or whatever in middle school, we had these Socratic seminars or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone else has done it here, but it's pretty fun just interacting with everyone else in the class too.
That's excellent, because I'm just going to say this: a hard conversation is called a hard conversation for a reason. They're hard. They're not easy to have. They'd be called easy conversations. Hard conversations look like in a lot of different flavors. Let me just maybe clarify, because you might be thinking, well, what's he mean by a hard conversation? Could be that maybe there's some conflict with a friend in a social situation. Could be a hard conversation. Could be, I want to talk to my coach or my swim coach or whatever about playing more, or I want to be able to do this event in gymnastics, but I'm not comfortable having that conversation. Could be something at home with a brother or sister or a parent or aunt and uncle. Hard conversations come in a lot of different forms, but they are inevitable that they're going to happen in your life. Okay. Having a hard conversation with someone or resolving conflict is just human nature. It's going to happen. Someone's going to come at you with a hard conversation that you may not realize. Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Or you might finally get the nerve, if you will, or the confidence to have a conversation with someone else. That's just something that's been bothering you. So it's not on your piece of paper, but I just want to have you do something for me if you guys are willing, because I think it's important just to plant the seed today, because this isn't negative. It's inevitable that all of you here, myself included, mine could come tomorrow for all I know. Yours could come tomorrow. Something could happen where you just like, you know what? I don't really feel right about this, and I need to talk to this person about it because I don't like it being gray. It's just uncomfortable. I'm going to address it. So on a piece of paper, write down, and before you write it down, write down a conversation, whatever it might be in your mind. It's okay. I'm not judging. Oh, that's not hard. I'm not judging it. Write down a hard conversation that you know you need to have with someone, but you haven't had it yet. Okay. And I'm just going to use one example once you guys write it down. And sometimes these get personal. So it's your personal comfort level. If you want to share, great. If you don't, I absolutely understand. But you know there's a hard conversation with someone. You know you should have it, but you haven't had it yet. Go ahead and write that down. Here's what I suggest, by the way. I know I'm talking over you guys writing. Write it down in this way. I'm going to give you my example. I'll give you two examples. One will be a personal, and one will be like a work related. So work related could be conversation with blank about the Delta project. So conversation with so-and-so about something. A social could be conversation with Jenny about the way she made me feel at lunch. Okay, one sentence. Conversation with blank about blank. Okay, one brief sentence. Go ahead and write something down.
What if you don't really need to have any hard conversations with anyone?
Then you're going to have a hard one with me right now. And I'm going to
what?
yell at you. No, if you don't, that's fine. You obviously, if there's nothing that comes to mind, you can't write anything down. But think deep, Rishi. Is there anything, maybe it could be something, a friend of yours that just kind of made you feel bad? They embarrassed you in a situation. You didn't like the way it made you feel. I know that may seem like a throwaway, like, I'm just going to move on. Is there anything you could just use for the example of what it's like or what it takes? Because I'm going to teach you maybe some easy steps to how to have a conversation like this. Anything come to mind? And if not, okay.
Honestly, no. All this online stuff, I don't really get to see my friends very much, so there isn't as many problems, which means
Okay.
I don't have anything to write down.
Okay. Totally fair. I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's do this. Don't write anything down if you don't have anything. That's legitimate. Maybe just listen in as we go through it, because I'm just going to touch on some 3 key pieces, and they're really easy. They're really straightforward. So I hope that you'll just, still tune in though. Okay. Okay. Anyone else have any questions, or has everyone else got something written down for themselves? Okay. Vincent, how confident, how brave are you feeling right now? You feeling a little courageous right now?
About like the hard conversation stuff.
Yeah. And if it's a name and you want to just leave the name out, great. Let me just do a quick funny story for you. I was up here, Sam, for your case, I was up here in the Seattle area, and I was actually at a high school. Some of you guys up here would know it's called Skyline. It's probably no different than Burlingame High or Sarah or any of the high schools down. Well, Sarah's not near you, is it? Anyway, and it was when I was first started Talk Shops about 1.5 years ago, and I was in this class and I did this segment and I learned my lesson. It was pretty hilarious, actually. I said, so I asked someone to share, and it does take some courage to do it. And I absolutely recognize that. But finally I got someone, and someone said, yeah, I got a hard conversation. I need to have it with Scott. And Scott was in the class. So there were 2 students that were having issues with each other, and they decided right then and there to air it out. I'm like, wow, didn't see that one coming. So I don't think today you guys are all independent of each other. Vincent, anything you're willing and comfortable? Sorry, I just thought I'd share that. Anything come to mind? Are you willing to share what you have down for yourself?
I'm not really having any difficult conversations lately.
Okay, fair enough.
I didn't really write anything down.
No worries. Tanvi, anything are you willing to share if you've got something for yourself? Sam, you're on deck.
I'm actually not having any difficult conversations either.
Okay, great. This is an easy thing then. Sam, anything come to mind? Do you have anything? I'm not here to say be our savior. Do you have anything? If not, that's okay too.
I do, but it's kind of hard to explain. But
Go ahead.
I need to have a conversation with my soccer coach about why she plays me the whole game. And I know that sounds weird, but I'm like the only one who doesn't get subbed, and it's confusing to me. So I need to ask her about that.
Okay. And what
What
about
position do you
asking?
play?
Oh, I'm a sweeper.
Oh. Well, I mean, you don't really need to push up, do you? You can just stay in the back line.
But it's I don't know. It's confusing my mind because I feel like, but I want to ask her. But I feel like I'm like, well, should I not ask? Because then she's gonna be like, well, do you not want to play the whole game?
Mm-hmm. Rishi, what do you think? You're obviously a soccer guy because you jumped right in. So let's just role play this for a second. Let's say you're Sam's coach. How would you react to something like that?
Well, I mean, it depends on how many subs you have a game. In the league I played, you could have as many subs as you wanted. But I think it depends on what position you play, if you get tired or not, like, your fitness and stuff, and what position you play. Because if you play a goalkeeper, then you don't need a sub, right? Because, you're a goalkeeper. If you're playing defender, you don't need a sub.
Right, but if you're Sam's coach and you're subbing out other players around her, but not her.
What do you mean?
I said you're Sam's coach.
Yeah.
And you're subbing other midfielders out, other sweepers out, but you're not letting Sam get a breather to catch her legs, to catch her wind.
Then I don't know if there's. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Sam, can I come back to you for a second? What is and I appreciate you sharing. It's real to you, so therefore it's real, right? Like I said, there's no right or wrong about anything we share. What is it about the conversation? Is it the coach's personality? Are you perhaps a little tentative as to how he or she might respond. What do you think is making this a hard conversation for you? And it's all fair.
I guess I don't know how my coach will respond, but I
Mhm.
think it's like it's a weird question because I'm in my mind, if I would receive this question, I'd be like, do you not want to play the whole game? And like that's not what I'm trying to ask. I'm just wondering why like the rest of the defense subs,
Mhm.
but like and sometimes I feel like I should sub over some other people. So I think it's just
All right. Well, let me, can I work with it for a little bit? This is just the piece I want to talk about. And Rishi, I know you don't have a hard conversation. Tanvi, Vihan, I know you don't. Vincent, you don't as well. I get it. I'm going to go on a limb and say that you will all have the need to have a hard conversation with someone somewhere. It's just going to happen. Here's my tips on how to have a hard conversation with someone. Is the reason I had you write it down, conversation with coach, in this case, about not getting substituted. It's one sentence, right? The reason you write that down is that's the one topic. And Tanvi, this might be good for you in a way. I know you said sometimes you get maybe more than one topic comes out at once. When you have a hard conversation or this type of a conversation, you want to resolve something, you stick to that one topic. And here's why. That's the one thing. You're going to get a reaction, maybe not from a coach, Sam, in your case, but with your peers, with your age group friends, you will more than likely, let me make something up. Let me just say Vihan's got a friend that is going to approach him about, Vihan, do you drive? Do you drive yet? Hit your mic.
Oops. I'm still 14, so I'm not.
14. Okay, you're not driving it. I'm just trying to come up with a scenario. Let's just say, let me use Vincent. If I could use you, for example, I'm just trying to find something that's like peer group to peer group. Someone on your football team doesn't like that you haven't washed your practice jersey in 3 months. Because guess what? That's nasty, right? And they're probably getting offensive because they drive with you, they're in the same carpool with you, and guess what? It smells. I know this is a horrible example to use. But if someone comes at Vincent with that conversation, Vincent could handle it one of two ways. Number one, he could say, yeah, you know what? Hey, I appreciate you guys let me know. Sorry, that's on me. I kind of let that slide. I'm going to wash it up. Or Vincent might go, well, why you tell me you guys do this or you do that and you did something 2 weeks ago? Well, yeah, what about the time you did? And you go down that path of just finding something to attack the other person about. And so that happens a lot. Vincent, I'm not sure which way you'd handle that. Which way would you handle that? Let me just ask you point blank. Sam, we're coming back to you. I'm not going to forget you.
I'd probably go with the first option. Just hearing them out and just taking their advice into account.
Right. And that's a good way to do it. But there are a lot of people that will not. And I'm just showing you and showcasing reality out there. Outside of your high school worlds right now, you're going to, once you take the next step, you're going to encounter people that maybe don't handle things that way, which is why I say stick to the one topic. And when someone comes back at you with the examples of, yeah, but you know, that post you did 2 weeks ago really bummed me out, or that you did this 3 weeks ago, or you borrowed that dress from me and you never returned it, or you returned it to, whatever it is, people just, I call this soup pot. They throw everything else back into the soup pot. But the one ingredient, meaning the one main topic, is what you want to stick on. And a way to reply, if someone comes at you that way, you say, look, I understand, I can see and hear you that you've got some things that you want to talk about too. Let's do this. Can we work on just this topic today? And then maybe tomorrow we can work on those topics that you want to discuss. Does that seem fair? Now, I don't know if any of you picked out, but I used the word we. I didn't use the word me or I said we. That's bringing someone into my conversation with me to work with me together. Let's do this together. If we could do this today, then tomorrow, let's both talk about those things that are important to you as well. Now, I know that may sound so easy coming out of my mouth. Would anyone be willing to try? Does that even remotely sound realistic to try that if you get into a hard conversation and someone pushes back on you? Sam, let me go to you. Does that seem something fair, or does that seem really, really foreign to try to address it that way? So let's come back to your coach situation. because that's a different dynamic, right? You're a student and the coach is older and you're not sure what the reaction is going to be. And guess what? That's fair. The reason it's fair is the reason people avoid having hard conversations. Anyone want to take a guess as to why people avoid them? Rishi, why do you think people avoid having hard conversations?
So they don't have to deal with any stress or confusion that comes with it.
Yep, absolutely. Vincent, why do you think people avoid at all costs having a hard conversation with someone?
Yeah, because usually both parties won't like handle it in a very mature way, so there ends up being like a good amount of drama.
Absolutely. Tanvi, anything you want to add to that of why people don't like it or why they'll avoid at all costs having a hard conversation with somebody?
Maybe sometimes it's easier to ignore that something is wrong or uncomfortable.
Yep. And those are all fair. I'm going to add a few to that. But if you ignore, it might go away, but might is more of like, I hope it goes away, but it really won't. And oftentimes it comes back and it mushrooms into something larger. If you just address it, even if it seems like the smallest thing, if you just hit it straight ahead, you'll be better off for it. It's empowering. Is it going to come out the right way the first time? No, probably not. You'll probably slip over your words and you may not come out smooth, which is another reason why people avoid it, is they're not comfortable with how it's going to come out. And they're also not comfortable with the reaction. They're fearful that it might damage the relationship. They're fearful of how the person's going to react, all of these things. And that's all normal. But once you do it the first time, it becomes very empowering and it's amazing the weight that comes off your shoulder. As small as the topic may seem to you, it is incredibly empowering just to have it, because then you only get better at it, right? And I can use every sports analogy in the book because I was an athlete myself. And yes, I've been in the sports business, but any type of a conversation and you're working on becoming clear and concise and confident, it may not happen right away. But guess what? Soccer players don't make the national women's Olympic team right away either. You've got to go through the steps. And today's just the first step. So I'm appreciative that you're all here. This is just the first step. So I say to you, Sam, I'm not here to tell you what to do clearly. I'm just here to guide you of stick to one point. And if you make it human with other people, and this is for the rest of you too, for Rishi, for Tanvi, for Vihan, for Vincent, if you don't have a conversation that's hard with someone right now, when you do, be clear, stay to the one topic. In this case, it's, hey, look, I would like to be able to get subbed out. Here's why, here's how it's making me feel. If you bring a human element, this is how something makes me feel. We are all human. We all have emotions and feelings. If you let someone know that, unless they're completely void of any heart and soul, they're going to get it. If you make something human. Okay. Does that make sense when I say that? And it's okay if it doesn't. I'll try to explain it in a different way. Is that making sense to someone? Or everyone rather? If it doesn't, please let me know. Okay. Sam, I don't know if that helped give you some guidance. I think you're probably not having it because you're more concerned of, is this going to damage my relationship with the coach? And how's he, I'm assuming it's a he, I don't want to, he or she, you don't know how they're going to react. Was there anything else that's hidden behind that maybe?
No, that's it.
Do you think anything that was spoken here with all of us, you got Rishi, your impromptu head soccer coach here. Do you feel comfortable remotely, at least making an effort to bring it up to your coach?
Yeah, no, I'm going to do it. Like I've been thinking about it, but
Yeah.
I've also considered waiting till this.
You guys remember? Yeah. Let me just repeat. This is a good chance for me to kind of rephrase as we kind of wrap up the 3 C's, right? It's clear, concise, and confident. In this case, Sam, it's concise. Less is more. Short and sweet. Short and sweet. Short and sweet wins the day. Make your point. Don't overtalk it. Okay? Don't overtalk it. I think a lot of people, when they have a hard conversation, they get nervous. And oftentimes when people get nervous, they talk a lot more than they should. Okay? Or maybe it goes the other way. You don't talk as much. But again, I think short and sweet and to the point would really serve you well. And it serves everyone well when it comes your time to have a hard conversation with someone. So just want to kind of recap real quick. And it's in your workbook. There's some additional pieces here that you can always go back to. But I just want to kind of rephrase the clear, concise, and confident. I think being clear, it almost, in a way, no pun intended, it almost speaks for itself. If you all raised your hand, which I know you all did, that you want to be understood, then being clear is going to help someone, meaning your listener. Okay. Being clear is going to help the person you're talking to understand what you're saying. Eliminate the filler words if that's what it takes. Stay to one topic. If that's distracting, you've got all these other topics in your head, just stick to one. That will help you stay clear. But when you're clear, then you build the confidence. And you build the confidence by actually having more conversations. The concise, I think we've kind of talked about a little bit extra, but again, the concise is just, it's just another way of keeping things short and sweet if you tend to talk a lot when you get into conversations. Anyone want to take a guess at what the attention span is? Just to the average student right now and adult. Anyone want to take a guess? Vihan, what do you think?
30 seconds.
Okay. Rishi, what do you think?
15
Vincent, 15 minutes or 15 seconds?
seconds.
Got it. Vincent, what do you think?
I'd say like 8 seconds, 7.
8 seconds? Okay. Sam, did I ask you already or no?
Oh, I was gonna say like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Who said 8 seconds? Who was that? Okay, Vincent and Rishi, I think you guys were. Anyway, the average attention span is about 9 seconds. Show of hands, who finds that pretty alarming? I know I do. That's actually from recent studies, not just that Microsoft puts out, but there was a university in, I believe it was Denmark, just put it out. I think we all can realize why attention spans are low. This is adults too, not just your age bracket. We're getting constantly bombarded with messages, with text, with information that our attention spans have whittled down to 9 seconds. I don't know about you, but there is not a whole lot you can do in 9 seconds. So if you've got an opportunity to make a connection with someone that I spoke about earlier, be clear, be concise, okay? Because you're dealing with attention spans that are really low. So, but that takes some practice. So anyway, any questions on that? Any thoughts about that? No? Okay. I have it. There's some extra, bits. I want to just, before I leave with just a quote, I'm not a big quote person, but I always like to leave with one quote. But before I do that, I want to ask you all, I know we're running just a little bit late, but we started a little bit late. So, but I do want to get you guys on to the rest of your Sunday afternoon. I appreciate you all sticking here and being here. Does anyone have any questions? Could it be about anything we talked about from the get-go or during the middle or right now? And again, no such thing as a bad question, and your voices and your thoughts all matter. So anyone have anything that they want to bring up or get clarification on rather? No? Okay. Silence sometimes does the heavy lifting. That's all right if you don't have anything. My goal, I can't mandate this, but my goal is for whatever you guys have individually written down for yourself, my goal is for you to do something on it. Okay. It's one thing to write it down, but it's the next to actually take action. And those that take action are going to win. I know that sounds like a sports thing, and it's not always just about winning and losing. So it's about taking the next step. It's about making the right connections and being prepared to make the right connections, having the right conversations, having those conversations that are clear and comfortable and confident. But it starts today. For those that said the next text thread or DM thread that comes in, stick to it. Pick up the phone. Stick to what you've written down for yourself, and you'll feel a lot better. So anyway, I want to end with a quote. I'm not a big quote person. As a matter of fact, did I quote anything anywhere throughout this session today? The answer is no. Good job. Okay, so you guys see that I'm a football fan. Yes, and I've worked and I still work in the football industry. Show of hands, has anyone ever heard of the name Vince Lombardi? Okay, Vincent, you're a football guy. Rishi, got it. Who wants to share with the rest who is Vince Lombardi?
He's the wasn't he the key? Well, I forgot, but oh yeah, he's his name's on the Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. So without getting into greater detail, getting into it too much, but yes, he was the legendary head coach of the Green Bay Packers, whose teams won the first 2 Super Bowls. The Super Bowl trophy is named after him. Pretty legendary, but not just as a football coach. The players that are still alive that played for him, they all, to a person, say he taught us how to be a good human being. And so there's lots of Vince Lombardi quotes out there, but I always like one, because I remember when I heard it, it stuck with me and it resonates to me, and it makes a lot of sense about Talk Shop. If you've heard me today talk a lot about building good habits, that's what Talk Shop is. It's building good communication habits. So I'm just going to read a quick quote. And the quote is, be mindful of your actions because they become your habits. And then be mindful of your habits because they become your character. I think if I asked you guys, you all want to be known for good character? I think you'd all probably raise your hands, right? Yeah. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. It's be mindful of your actions because they become your habits. Be mindful of your habits because they become your character. So I hope that maybe just settles in there and it makes sense. I've always loved that quote and I always like to end with it. So I want to say thank you for those of you that stuck with me. I think there might have been one or two that were supposed to be here, but I'm glad that you guys were. That's all that I have for you today. For anyone that wants to reach out, if they have any questions, sometimes people get a little hesitant in groups, which is absolutely normal. On your workbook, there's a way to reach me. I absolutely get back to all my emails. If you want to text, I can do that too. But email is preferred for me because that's what I use. But I always like to leave you guys a last word. Rishi, any last words or questions or thoughts? No? Okay. Vihan, Tanvi, any last questions or thoughts?
No.
Okay. Vincent, any last thoughts, questions?
Nope.
Sam, I have a feeling you're probably going to say no, but I'm still going to ask. Any last questions or thoughts?
This is unrelated to what we were
Please.
talking about, but are the footballs behind you signed by 49er players?
All right. Good question. Stick on the line. Do you have a couple extra seconds to stick on the line? Let me just wrap up with everyone else because the answer is yes. And there's some that I have that aren't behind me that are in a different room. Stick on. We'll chat for a little bit. But for those, I know I've kept you a little bit longer and I appreciate it. I hope that you took something away and you don't need to make me feel bad or good. It's fine. I'm a big boy. I can take it. I'm hopeful that you found something that is useful and that you can put into place literally as of tonight. I hope that you'll. Is there a thumbs up? Anyone take anything away that they can put into place right away? Great. I hope so. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm here to help you in any other way. You have a way to reach me at this point. Info's in your workbook. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.